Today, we'll be talking about understanding fine and gross motor skills development in our children. The session will be conducted by Miss Rita Gendelman. Also in the panel today, we have Dr. Debbie, who's a doctor for children with special needs based out of Singapore and has been working with Ma'am Rita for quite some time. So we are happy to have her here today in the panel. Without further ado, I would like you to introduce you to today's session speaker, Miss Rita. She specializes in helping children and young adults on the autism spectrum, ADHD, cerebral palsy, and learning disabilities for over 15 years now. She has helped over 500 special families and their special children. She has completed advanced and foundational training in a variety of modalities like the sensory processing approach, MNRI, reflex integration approach, handle approach, osteopathic techniques, sunrise method, and neuro-emotional technique. She has taught parents in educational workshops on topics such as sensory processing disorder, handling challenging behaviors, self-care for parents, raising a special child. She's mentoring and training supportive staff caregivers to be able to work with families and their special needs children. So like I already mentioned, she's an occupational therapist with a lot of experience. So we're really happy to have her here with us today. But before introducing, I already introduced her to you, but before handing over to her, I would like to give you all a quick and brief introduction about Ability. For us as an organization, all carers of children with special needs are at the center of our universe. Our mission is to give every child an opportunity to thrive. And how we do it? We do it by making resources more accessible, affordable, and effective for everyone through technology and collaboration with caregivers like you all. This is how you can access the Ability Resources platform. Visit app.ability.com and click on resources. We bring to you a host of other support systems as well, such as community along with these resources, so that no one has to do this alone. Everyone should be given the opportunity to enable the best possible chance of discovering their child's true potential. Also, you can access the resources from Ability by subscribing to our YouTube channel, which has over hundreds of useful videos from experts from around the world. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, now is the right time to do it. Please check out the link in the chat box. It is being shared by our team members. Also, to stay updated about the events and the tools being offered by Ability, do follow our Facebook page. Thousands of people are already doing it, and I will request you all to join the troop. Apart from that, you can also check out the upcoming events like workshops and webinars being conducted by Ability in the events page of Ability. What you need to do is click on app.ability.com/events. When you open app.ability.com, you can also click on the events button right here at the top bar. And this page has a list of all the upcoming events from Ability, be it workshop or webinars. Also, it has a record of all the past sessions conducted by the expert speakers from around the world. These sessions are available under the on-demand category, so you might want to check it out. The link for the events page is also being shared in the chat box right now. If you don't already have an Ability account, please do create one. If you register for any of the workshops or webinars from Ability, just by entering a few details, you'll be able to create an Ability account for yourself. And once you have done that, what you need to do is log in to your Ability account by simply entering two simple details, your username and password. Once you're logged in, registering for any of the Ability event will become a click easy. Yeah, that's right. What you need to do is just click on this orange button here on any of the workshop detail or the webinar detail page that you are interested in. And that's it. You are done with the registration for any of the Ability events. Also, to make it more convenient for you all, we don't want you to keep paying the money for attending the workshops. You can either take the annual subscription, the quarterly subscription, or the monthly subscription of Ability membership. It has a host of other benefits, like apart from giving you access to more than 6 or sometimes 6 live workshops during a month, and also all the access to the on-demand and the past sessions conducted by ability speakers. The link to the membership page is also being shared in the chat box right now. So if you are not already an ability member, try becoming one so that you get to experience the wide array of workshops across different learning paths offered by ability. And that brings us to the end of Ability's introduction. But like I introduced Dr. Debbie and Rita already, so I would request Rita to take over so that she can conduct the session today. I'm pretty sure all our attendees here are very eager to listen from her. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rita.
Yes. Swati, thank you so very much for such a beautiful introduction. And I do feel that when I'm presenting for Ability, I actually feel like I'm part of a family. So I really appreciate that, because I don't like to do things by myself. I need support just like all the families. And Dr. Debbie, I just want to thank you. I know how busy you are. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting me. And I just really appreciate the platform where I can reach such a large audience. So let's begin. Let me share my screen. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, technology. Okay, so today we're discussing and learning a little more in depth about fine and gross motor skills, the differences and the similarities between fine and gross motor skills, and where do we actually begin the development and supporting our children in their ability to fully develop these skills. And this question is often asked by therapists, by parents, by caregivers. Where do we begin? Because there is so much information out there about what to do. And what is interesting is that, unfortunately, there is still this incredible division that exists. That, for example, I'm an occupational therapist, and I worked with many physical therapists, and I'm someone who likes to collaborate, and I'm someone who actually looks at a child from a very holistic perspective, meaning that fine motor skills and gross motor skills are not separate. Yes, there might be different muscles involved, but they support each other in their development. And as an occupational therapist, I will always assess and look at both. And it was always surprising to me when I used to work with physical therapists. They used to say, well, physical therapy addresses more the gross motor skills, and occupational therapist addresses more the fine motor skills. And I believe that is not the most useful perspective. It's really important to make sure that you're looking at the child as a whole. Okay, so we're not, the arms are not separately flying somewhere out there. Your arms are attached to your body. Your feet are attached to your body. So it all has to work together. And understanding the difference between the fine and gross motor skills, we first have to basically understand, well, what unifies them? What's the one thread that's actually similar? Okay, so to begin with, we all came here. We were born, and we all were at some point for 9 months. Some of us a little longer, some of us a little less, but approximately 9 months inside of a womb. And it's really important to know that actually research shows that at 52 weeks, which is a little bit less than 2 months, the baby begins to develop fine and gross motor skills. And one does not begin earlier than the other. They both begin to develop. And I know that all of you mothers out there know what it's like when you're falling asleep and your baby is like kicking and kicking and kicking, and you're like, ah, ah, ah. So your baby is learning, oh, I have a body. Oh, I have legs. Oh, I have arms. They're not conscious about it, but they're trying it on. What does it feel like? I have this body. What am I going to do with it? And the same thing with fine motor. So the baby begins, the sonogram shows, to touch his or her face at a very, very, once again, 2 months after conception, sucking his or her thumb, pursing lips, making squinting, raising eyebrows. All of these skills are beginning to develop in the womb. And I will explain a little more why that is so important a little later on. So if we look at gross motor skills, let's discuss that to begin with. So as I just mentioned, gross motor skills, they begin to develop in utero. Okay, the babies, the turning of the head, rolling, moving spontaneously, arms and legs, all of that are the gross motor skills development. They develop together with fine motor skills, which I will discuss a little further in our conversation today, how they connect. And yes, it's true. When we're speaking of gross motor skills, we're speaking of activities that have to do with large muscles of our body. So that means the back, that means our shoulder muscles, that means our hip muscles, our thigh muscles. That's what I'm talking about, our neck muscles. That is part of gross motor skills activity. And when a baby is born, when we're thinking about gross motor activities and assessing gross motor activities or discussing what they look like, so we're speaking primarily about baby's ability to hold his or her head, baby's ability to start rolling, start crawling, start pulling him or herself up to standing, walking. Those are the typical gross motor activities that we are looking at in the beginning when the child begins to develop. And when we're speaking of fine motor skills, once again, as I mentioned, they do begin in utero. And they do develop together in conjunction with the large muscles, the gross motor skills. And yes, the fine motor skills are really relating to the muscles that are the small muscles of the body in terms of size, like the hands. The muscles around the hands are much smaller than the muscles in our lower back. So that's a good way to know how to discern between, fine motor skills and gross motor skills in terms of having the same language around this. And when we are looking at child's development, especially in the first year of life, we are talking about grasping an object, pulling an object. We're talking about fingers closing, fingers opening. We're talking about putting a hand inside the mouth. So that all is very clearly related to the development of fine motor skills. And I just love this. This is a little bit of a fuzzy picture, but this is so beautiful. Every time I talk about this, every time I look at these pictures and I think about how we develop as human beings, it's just a miracle that inside a woman's body, this beautiful being is beginning to develop. And look at this baby. Already the fingers are beginning to bend. Already the thumb is going into the mouth. It begins so early and it's just so beautiful and it's so natural. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between fine and gross motor skills in terms of the way we see it, the way the medical community sees it typically, the way that the Board of Education or the school system sees the difference between fine and gross motor skills. And this is when we're looking at these two columns, this is around 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. This is not like 1 or 2 or 3 year old. So yes, when we look at these two columns, this makes total sense. Okay, the fine motor skills are all the skills that you all know well. It's drawing, it's cutting, it's stringing beans, it's using scissors, it's opening boxes. That is all known and that is all accurate. And then we're talking about the gross motor skills. Once again, it's the standing, it's the walking, it's the running, it's going up and down the stairs. So these are the kind of categories that we typically see at a doctor's office that assesses your child and asks you, are you achieving these milestones? School is thinking, are we achieving these milestones? And this is all really great. There's nothing wrong with this. However, I just want to say that there are really significant links that are missing from the conversation of fine motor skill development and gross motor skill development. And I would really like to share them with you today. So the missing links are, so we're going to start with the gross motor skills. So one of the missing links that I find is missing from the conversation is dynamic postural control. And dynamic postural control has all to do with gross motor skills because it has to do with large muscles of the body. So let me talk about this a little bit more. As you could see, this little girl is running, okay? So if she does not have postural control in her movement, she will not be able to run, okay? So when I'm talking about postural control, I'm talking about muscles, specifically large muscles around the spine, okay? From the sacrum, from the lower back, all the way to the neck. Those muscles need to be able to be relaxed and contract at a specific amount of time with specific rhythm in order to be able to support this erect posture, so that there is movement and flexibility, and that gives way to arms and legs to be able to work with the torso, and it gives the ability for the neck to be able to work with the muscles of the lower back and the spine to be able to have that dynamic movement, so that you can run and you can walk freely and easily without falling. So if this girl did not have this dynamic postural control, she would appear very awkward to all of us. She would probably be like, maybe her head would be to the side, or maybe her shoulder would be leaning, or maybe she would be hunched over. She wouldn't be able to move as fast. She wouldn't be able to see where she's going, because probably her eyesight would be affected because her head is not aligned with the spine. She would get very fatigued very quickly. She might fall easily. She might have to lean on someone else to have the support of someone else in order to walk or run. So this dynamic postural control is essential for any gross motor skills. It's foundational. Without this dynamic postural control, it is very, very difficult to efficiently develop gross motor skills. And another missing link from the conversation about gross motor skills is the static postural control. Very, very, very important, okay? So as you could see, there is a girl and a boy, and they're sitting at a desk. So when we're speaking about school, when we're speaking about learning, the static postural control, it is so foundational. Because once again, we're talking about the musculature of the spine. We're talking about those muscles being strong enough, having enough integrity to actually bring you up against gravity and to sit still. Now, sitting still is the most difficult milestone you can ever achieve. That is the hardest thing to do. So when we're talking about these large muscles of our body, our ability, our lower back, our middle back, our neck, all those muscles need to be able to have enough strength and have to be able to have enough communication from the sensory environment, from the outside. And then the communication as it comes in and it's processed in the brain. And then the processing sends information back to the body from the brain and lets the muscles know what to do, whether they need to relax or whether they need to contract. Very, very important. So as you could see here, if there was no postural control, these children would be, and you probably see this all the time, these children would be like falling down and they would be drooping over the desk. Their head they wouldn't be able to hold up their head, and they would be really slanting over. They would be like sleeping on their desk. They would be writing if they can write, and then their head is laying on the side of the desk. Then children who don't have this static postural control, they have very, very difficult time sitting in a chair. Very often, I find these children, they slip out of the chair and they fall out of the chair. They just cannot sit. They cannot sit, okay? They also, if you have this really underdeveloped, this static postural control, what happens is your neck muscles are not able to align with your spine. And then what happens is you're either to the side or you're leaning forward. And that prevents an individual, a child sitting in the classroom, to be able to clearly hear and see what is written on the board, what the teacher is saying, because the head is somewhere hanging to the side or back or hunched over. So our ability to hear and ability to see is compromised. So naturally, it compromises the whole ability of the child to be able to learn. And also when these muscles around the spine are really, really weak and they don't have enough integrity and they don't have enough information connection from the brain, from the body, what happens is it's very difficult to have self-regulation. So very often what you notice is there's two extremes that could happen. One extreme is the child is like totally falling asleep and they cannot keep themselves up and they're under aroused or understimulated and they're falling asleep. Or you see a child trying to keep themselves awake and they're like, they're moving around, they're hyper, they're shaking, they're getting up, they're sitting down, they're moving things around, they're touching things all the time. And this is really, really important because they can't regulate their body if their muscles are not supporting them. So those are the two profoundly missing links from the development of the gross motor skills. So let's talk about the fine motor skills. And when it comes to fine motor skills, the first missing link, I believe, is the eyes. So the eyes are an incredibly important part, an incredible way for us to receive sensory information. And the eyes probably process about 80% of the sensory information that's coming in. Very powerful system. And it brings and gives us a lot of information about space. It gives us a lot of information about where our body is. So it allows us to know where we are in space. And it allows us also, when the eyes are working properly, it allows us to be able to read and be able to write and copy from the board. So the eyes are just really important. And, part of this, the missing link is that when the muscles of the eyes, and there are 6 muscles around each eyeball, and there are small little muscles that also contract and relax the lens. And there are also muscles that actually contract and relax the pupil. So there are a lot of little mini muscles in the eye that are allowing us to see the world. So for example, if these muscles are too tense, or if these muscles are too weak, it is very difficult to make sense of the visual information that is coming in. And it also creates, if the child is looking at something, they don't understand what they're looking at, they will get uncomfortable, they would get disorganized, they will become either hyper or they will fall asleep because they are unable to process the information. So it affects the self-regulation skills. And it also directly affects our ability to socialize because if it's uncomfortable for you to look at another person because your eyes are not able to contract and relax so that you can accommodate and you could see near and you could see at a distance, if that's difficult, then it's very difficult to look at a person's face and to see all the details of the face and all the animations of the face. And it's also very difficult to play sports because you have a lot of distance, a lot of space. You have to be able to understand and discern. You have to be able to, see people coming closer. You see people going far away. If a ball is coming at you, you have to be able to see it far away, and then you have to be able to adjust your eyes so that you see it close up. The same thing with writing, and the same thing with copying from the board. Your eyes are constantly needing to adjust these muscles to be able to allow us to see the world as it really is. And for those children where these muscles are not working properly, the eyes are not able to make this, I guess, a picture of the world that's coherent. I've read many books and I've spoke to some high functioning adults on the autism spectrum who say, well, things are floating all the time. I'm seeing these lights floating. Everything is very confusing. So I also remember this one 14-year-old told me, when I look at what I'm writing or when I look at the book, when I'm reading, letters are jumping out at me. That's part of the visual system. That's part of those muscles' inability to work properly, to give the visual system the information that it needs in order to function well. So part of fine motor skills is this real importance to remember that the eyes are part of developing fine motor skills. Another link, this is really important, the missing link that I don't hear often is the muscles of our ears. So as information, as sound comes in, okay, here's the ear, okay, and the sound comes in, there's this little membrane that is like expands, contracts, and allows those sound waves to come through and goes and allows it to go further into the inner ear. And there are all these little minuscule, small muscles in the inner ear that have to be able to also relax and contract and work in synchrony together for all of us, including our children, to be able to receive and discern the sounds that we are hearing, and not to be afraid of it, and to understand what is the specifics of the sound. When these muscles are not working accurately, they could be calcified, there could be issues with that, they could be ruptured, they could be just too much toxicity. There are just a lot of different reasons for why these muscles are not working properly, but they are little, they're small, they are part of the fine motor development, and it is really important to remember that we can support these muscles and we can help them develop. And it is definitely part of the fine motor development because they're really, really little. Okay. So that's when it comes to processing sound and the little muscles in the ear. And then I wanted to talk about the muscles, oral motor skills, muscles around the mouth. And I'm talking of muscles, these are muscles around the mouth, and these are muscles that are closer to the jaw. But there's all these little muscles in our face that allow us to make facial expressions, that allow us to talk. And this is really, really important because when these muscles are too weak, okay, there's low muscle tone, or when they are too tense, what happens is, first of all, it affects our speech production. So of course, the ability to speak is hindered. It also, before the child begins to speak, these muscles help us to breathe. So for example, if the mouth is open and there is no ability, there is no strength for the muscles or the jaw, the muscles around the jaw are too weak, and you're an open mouth breather, a lot of my children are, you open your mouth and you're like this, and you can't close your mouth, it really affects your breathing and you become a shallow breather. And if you're only breathing into your upper chest and you're not breathing into your belly, which is very difficult to breathe into your belly when your jaw is like this and your mouth is open and the muscles around the mouth are weak, what happens is you begin to become hyper and you begin to lose your sense with your feet, and you begin to lose their sense with the earth and with the floor. And it's difficult to be able to be grounded. It's difficult to be here and now. Okay, so breath is extremely important, and that's going to be discussed in detail in the next couple of workshops that I'm going to do. So part of the mouth, part of the jaw, part of the muscles around that area affects the breath. Okay, it also deeply affects because that directly relates to digestion, and digestion is extremely important. If your child cannot properly swallow and cannot properly chew because the muscles around the jaw and the mouth and the tongue are either too weak or too tense, what happens is that digestion process is already kind of a beginning at a place where you can't fully chew the food and you can't break down the food. And the saliva that has so many enzymes that helps break down the food before it enters the esophagus and goes to the stomach, it actually hinders the digestion. And digestion, you could speak hours about digestion. It's really, really important because the byproduct of digestion are certain hormones and certain chemicals and neurotransmitters that are really, really important for children to learn. So if the digestion process is not working well, and it begins in the mouth, it really hinders your child's ability, overall sense, ability to develop. Are really to do with the outside. How do children these or skills workshops? And the last link, Actually, so this is an area, this is our pelvic floor, and this is definitely something that is almost never, ever discussed. And so this is the sphincter around our anus, okay? So this is something that is extremely important because once again, if it's too loose or too tight, what happens is your child cannot properly eliminate, and it affects toileting skills. And not only does it affect toileting skills, which is a challenge because, you know, it's difficult to travel with your child. It's difficult to do things. It's difficult to be in a school setting when you're not toilet trained. So that's a really important part. It also, if you can't properly eliminate, once again, toxins are in your body. Toxins are not being released from your body, okay, because this is one of the elimination channels. And it creates inflammation. It creates challenges for your child to be able to really self-regulate, to be able to attend, to be able to pay attention to what's going on, because the toxins build up, and that creates a lot of self-regulation difficulties in the body. And it also, once again, the pelvic floor, and when the muscles around this area are very tight, it affects our ability to be grounded. It affects our feet, connection of our feet to the floor, because everything is connected. And when the pelvic floor is not engaged, it's difficult to engage the feet, and it's difficult to stay connected to earth, stay connected with your feet to the floor. So if you think about it, you know, you're thinking about the mouth sphincters and the round muscles around the mouth, and then you're thinking about the digestion. It's a large tube. It comes in here and then it goes out there. And it's fully linked. One affects the other. And, you know, the muscles that help us to eliminate waste and the muscles that are helping us begin our digestion are really, really important. And this is very important in terms of looking at the development of fine motor skills and how these are small muscles, these are sphincter muscles that are all part of fine motor skill development. So I think that was the last missing link that I wanted to share today in terms of fine motor skills. And now that I've shared all these missing links, I'm thinking, well, where do we begin? Where do we begin? So we begin by building a very strong foundation, okay? As you know, when you're starting to build a house, you have to make sure you have a strong foundation, because you cannot have a roof without a strong foundation. The roof will fall. Everything will fall. The windows, the walls, everything will fall if you don't have that solid concrete foundation. There's another image just to remind us that a house cannot be built on quicksand. We need to start at the very root, at the very bottom, building the brains and nervous systems of our children. So how do we build a strong foundation? The way we do it is by activating the inner wisdom of the body that every single one of us is endowed with. We all have that. We are born with it. And how do we know that we have this beautiful innate wisdom of the body? When you're looking at this chronological progression, and this is just focusing on gross motor skills, when a baby is born, they have no clue how to hold their head. They have no clue how to roll. They have no clue how to crawl. They don't have any idea how to do that. There is really no thinking ability. There's no way to think through this. We are born with a genetic blueprint that is in every single cell of our body. It's in our DNA to allow us to know how to develop in order to learn to live in this physical body and to work within the field of gravity. And the baby knows how to do that all by him or herself. If the nervous system, if the sensory pathways and the motor pathways are open, and there's nothing hindering the child from naturally developing, they will know what to do by themselves. They will be able to eventually walk, and they will be able to eventually talk and do all that, because the body knows, the body is guiding them every single part of the way. And of course, the body is also responding all the time. We are, as human beings, our nervous system is designed to respond to external stimulation and internal stimulation. And as that information is coming in, mommy is making cuckoo, yee sounds, mommy's singing, mommy's rocking the baby's on the floor, the baby's picked up again, the baby's being held, being wrapped. If the baby is able to take in that sensory information, the brain begins to develop. The neural pathways are beginning to be built. And all those sensory informations are building the basic foundation for which eventually develops the brain fully. Okay. Now, in terms of specific, if we're thinking about methodologies, and there are just so many methods out there, what I prefer, what I really like, there are two methods that I go to that I really, really like. And I find that from my experience working with so many families, I find that these two methods are very powerful to start gently waking up the innate wisdom of the body that is already inside all of us. And one of those methods are rhythmical movement, and the other one is reflex integration. So I'm going to share with you very basic, very simple ways how you can start introducing your child, no matter what age, no matter what development, no matter where they are on the scale of development. It does not matter. You can do this at any point, at any time, and it's very powerful and it works. And let me show you. So I'm going to show you a little video, okay, that I just made. And I'll just, okay, let me show you. Let me press play. Okay. Oh, forgive me. And I wanted to make sure that I let you know that actually I really did not want there to be any words, because I really want us to focus on the movements, on my hands, on how she's laying down and what's going on with her body as I am doing this. And then I'll just share some thoughts with you. Okay, so this is really, really important. I started rocking Tulsi. I started rocking her, and what I saw, she was uncomfortable. And I did not see a lot of movement in her neck. And what I really want us to be very, very aware of is when you're doing this rhythmical rocking movement, it's important to watch and see, is your child's neck, is there any range of motion? Is there any movement? Okay. And if there is no movement, first of all, do not worry, do not stress, it's all okay. By doing this movement very gently, very rhythmically, you begin to wake up the muscles around the spine, the muscles that also connect the sacrum, the lower back, with the neck, which is foundational for any movement development, fine and gross motor skills. So why is this activity so important? Because it's a gentle way to wake up the spinal muscles. It's a gentle rhythm that actually, in a very gentle way, brings vibration into the body. And vibration is a beautiful, subtle way to wake up the muscles, to bring information into the neural pathways. And it also allows this feeling of the neck to go up and down, and starts activating the neck muscles, which is really important for our ability to hold our neck against gravity. So what's really cool about this exercise is that it's kind of like it's an anti-gravity movement, meaning that you're laying down and it's much easier to move this way as opposed to where you're standing up. Because when you're standing up, the pull of gravity is felt much, much more on the body. So there is more to process. But this way, we're kind of eliminating the pull of gravity. It's still there, but it's minimal. And you're allowing the muscles to just be immersed and bathed in this rhythmical, beautiful movement with slight action of gravity without overwhelming the nervous system. And I just want to tell you, I've seen miracles just with this exercise alone. I have so many families who told me they didn't have time to do anything else. And of course, all of you who are listening, we know everybody's very, very busy. But if you start doing this exercise every single day, just for 30 seconds, it's going to really, really foundationally make a difference. What's important is not every child is going to be saying, laying down for you and completely receiving this specific movement. And they're going to be like, yeah, oh yeah, beautiful, wonderful, this is amazing. No, because sometimes it's actually uncomfortable because the muscles below in the back of the neck could be very, very tight. And this movement, even though it is extremely beneficial, it might be hurting their neck. So here's some of the things that you can do. Okay. First of all, if you want, you could put a little pillow under the neck. Okay. A thin pillow, preferably not too thick, but a pillow nonetheless. See if that helps. Maybe it softens the landing of the muscles on the floor or on the table, wherever you do this. And it might be a little more gentle on the neck and it might support the neck. So that's one thing that you can try. The other thing is that you can play with rhythm. So there is no cookie cutter approach to this. There's no, this is the rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. You got to observe your child and you got to find a rhythm that works for your child. Some children I work with, they love it really, really, really fast. Some children, they want it to be very, very, very slow. Some children, they just kind of vary. Sometimes they want it fast, sometimes slow. It all depends on the child. What's important to remember is that who is the expert on your child's body? Your child. It's not you. It's not the professionals. It's not the therapist. I know what I know, but I'm always observing what is the feedback that I'm receiving from the activity, from the child, from the body. So if you're rocking your child and they're like contorting and they're contracting and they're like this, clearly this is not working for them and clearly they're uncomfortable. So play with rhythm, put something soft under their neck. Sometimes music really helps. Maybe you sing a song. Maybe you put on your child's favorite music. Do everything you can to allow your child to receive this with as much joy, as much comfort as possible. And the last thing that I want to say about this is, I said 30 seconds, okay? But if your child can tolerate 3 seconds, that's a great beginning. So just count all your wins. It's a baby step after baby step after baby step. Okay. So once again, speaking from experience, I've had children who didn't want to lay down. I've had children who want nothing to do with this whatsoever. By little, they started accepting this exercise because we brainstormed with the parents. What would be fun? What would be an easy way to do this? How do we start this? What do we do? And little by little, you start with 1 second. You start with 2 seconds. Do not push past your child's barrier. Never do that, because if you're going to do that, they're either going to shut down or they're going to become aggressive or they're going to just get up and walk away and they will never want to do this again. So you want to make sure that you're working with their ability to receive this, and you want to make sure you're not working past their resistance. Okay. 1 minute, 1 second, 2 seconds, and then you build it up. 30 seconds is good. Now, if you can eventually, if your child begins to enjoy this activity, eventually you can do this 1 to 2, 3 minutes a day. You can do this 3 times a day for 1 to 2, 3 minutes. It's really, just want to say, there are no contraindications. There is nothing that you cannot combine this exercise with. This is totally safe in every single way possible. And you can never do too much unless your child is showing clear resistance. So I've asked parents very often, you can do this before a child goes to sleep. Rocking a child to sleep. It's a lovely, lovely way to help their nervous system to calm down. Because as we all know, what do we do when baby is upset? When baby is fussy? When baby is crying? What do? We are rocking them. We are putting them in the carriage and we are rocking them. We're rocking. Rocking is very, very powerful. And all children like to be rocked from a very young age because it's soothing, because it's calming to the nervous system. It communicates safety and it communicates security. So please experiment with this, and please do not be discouraged. If your child only can tolerate right now 1 to 2 seconds, let that be. Let it be okay. I promise you that they will allow you to do much more rocking if you just go according to their pace of how fast or slow they want to go. So I want to show you a couple of other ways you can do this rhythmical movement, because like I said, there's no one way. So for example, you see this woman right here, she's actually holding, her hands are not below the knees where my hands were. My hands were a little bit below the knee. So I just want to make sure that I track this for you. See, my hands are slightly below the knees. Now she has her hands under the knees, where obviously her knees are bent, the girl's knees are bent, and she has a little pillow under her neck, which is what I just discussed, and she's on the floor, and the hands are under the knees. So this is another way where how you can rock your child. Sometimes this way works a little better. Sometimes a little bit below the knees works a little better. And then I have this other picture that I wanted to show you. So this is a little cartoon kind of a picture where, see, the hands are right on top of the knee. Mine were a little below, and this is right on top. So all those 3 ways are completely safe, and they're all possible, and they're all useful. But pick the one that you feel is comfortable for you as the one who is doing the work, as the one who is doing the movements. Make sure you're comfortable, because if your lower back is hurting, or if your neck is hurting while you're doing this, clearly you can't relax, and your child will feel it right away. So think about your comfort as well as your child's comfort, and then experiment with different position. Experiment with top of the knee, below the knee, inside the knee. See what works. I also wanted to just let you know that you can absolutely do these rocking movements on the side. If the child wants to be on the side, you can do the same rocking movement. You put your hands on the shoulder and on the hips, and you just gently rock. From the toes to the head, you gently rock, okay? Side to side, you rock your child. And you can do the same thing on the belly. If your child is comfortable being on the belly, you can also rock them while they're on the belly. You can hold them by the ankles and just rock them gently from head to toe in that vertical position. Rock, 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 rock. And just see what is the most comfortable point of entry for you with your child. And I just want to say, this specific movements, rhythmic movements, when it's done consistently every single day without working on handwriting, I've seen children who had improved handwriting without working directly on improving climbing or improving on walking on up and down the stairs. The balance system improved, coordination improved, and just by doing this, that's it. So I just cannot say enough about the importance of these rhythmical movements. So I feel like I'm just trying to see, did I miss anything? Because I really want to drive this home, the importance of the simplicity of these movements and the power of these movements. And sometimes I find that, we're all looking for that magic bullet, and parents, professionals, I was part of that as well. We're looking for this very complicated, very complex, very difficult way to help our children. We have to do a lot. And we have to make it difficult, and we have to make it complicated. And we have all these different activities, and they're all working on all these different things. And we have to do that 6 times a day. It's not my experience. My experience is that if you do subtle, gentle, and if you respect your child and you do it with them, and there is a connection, there is a quality of connection, and your child is engaged and you're with them and they're with you, and you know that they are receiving fully what you are giving them, that will take you a very, very long way. So I'm actually, I think I'm pretty much done with the lecture. I wanted to make sure that I leave enough time for questions for the audience, because I know that there's always a lot of questions. So this is my Q&A. So Swati, please let me know if this is the best time for questions and answers.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Rita. That was such an informative and engaging session. I am pretty sure the participants today must have learned a lot from you. So we have received a lot of questions, but before I move on to that, I would like to remind our attendees that if they wish to register for the next webinar from Ability, the link is being shared in the chat box right now. Also, we are planning a series of workshops with Rita, like she already mentioned. And if you wish to register for the workshops from Rita, the link is again being shared in the chat box. You can easily register for these workshops by becoming an Ability member. So now let us move to the questions. The first question that we have is from a bunch of people, Rita, including Rose, Teresita, Maria, and multiple others from so many different countries. What they are asking is, how can we improve children's motor skills in times like these, the times of pandemic, the COVID times, when we cannot take them for therapies outside? So what should they do?
Oh God, what a beautiful question. I love it. Thank you so much. Okay. So in times where you cannot go outside and you cannot go to sensory gyms, I say, let's see, what do we have available? What resource do we have available in our own home? Okay. Simple, simple, simple. So let me give you the first resources. This is one of my favorite resources and everybody has it. Okay. Get ready for this. Oh, wow. Look at this resource. Now, I am being silly right now just because sometimes the most simplest things are the most powerful things. You see, cardboard boxes are some of the most powerful tools you have to help your children develop fine and gross motor skills, specifically in your home. Now, I know we all go shopping. I know we all order a ton of stuff from Amazon and from all the other places. We have a lot of deliveries. That means I know 125% that all of you have cardboard boxes. There's no doubt, there's no shortage in cardboard boxes. So find small boxes, find big boxes, find medium boxes. And I love to do this. You can get as creative as you want. Children love cardboard boxes because the imagination is endless. You can do so much. You go inside the box and you pretend that there is, you tell your child, you invite your child to go in the box, okay? You present them with the box, and I'm hoping that you do it with a lot of joy. And you let them know, come on, come inside the box, come inside. They step inside the box, and what do? You shake the box. All of a sudden, they're like, what's going on? It's a lot of fun. But as they step into the box and you shake the box just a little bit, what are you doing? You're working on balance. Because as you are shaking them, you're actually activating their ability to hold their ability to strongly, firmly hold on to the floor with their feet. And if they're unable to, they fall down. And that's wonderful, because what happens? They're going to want to do it again. So you ask them to get up, and now you look at them, you're like, here we go. And you shake the box. And again, they might fall down. And again, something might happen. So you are directly activating their motor coordination system. You're directly working with the gravity and helping them learn what it's like to fall and what it's like to get up. What it's like to fall and what it's like to get up. Now, this is just one tiny example, because I do so many things with cardboard boxes. You can make holes in the cardboard boxes. You can have children crawl through cardboard boxes and build a whole maze with cardboard boxes, where they're actually, learning about their bodies, because now they have to really go through that hole, and they have to feel their body as it goes through the hole. And then they have to feel how big or small their body is in relationship to the box, which allows them to begin to develop that body map. Containment is very important. So they are getting that feedback. Oh, there is a small tight space that I'm dealing with, and I'm beginning to learn about my body and how big or how small my body is. And then you can add pillows. You can you can pretend that this is a bus, this is a plane. You could pretend this is a boat. I mean, the imagination goes wild. If you allow yourself to build your imagination, you could do anything with cardboard boxes. You put them on your head, you hide inside of them, you make a delivery of your child, you push it around, you knock them down, you get them to come in, to come out. And all of that is so much fun for children, as long as you are engaging your own imagination and allowing your child to engage their imagination and to contribute. And really listen to what they want to say. Really make sure that their imagination is very alive, because they are now using their body. They're coming in, they're coming out, they're climbing, they're crawling, they're picking things up, they're ripping the cardboard box, they're on their knees, they're on their feet, they're using their hands, they want to hide, but they're not thinking about, oh, I have to do this thing. I have to do 10 sit-ups, or I have to I have to cut in a straight line, or I have to, produce 7 letters. No, they're having fun, but they're fully, completely engaging their muscles, all of their muscles and all of their coordination system to work and to become live and to become activated. And that connection between brain and body starts to happen naturally. And it's really fun. So that's the cardboard box. And once again, I could talk about cardboard boxes for 8 hours, because there's gazillion, million, trillion things you can do with cardboard boxes. I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing that. So so that's my cardboard box answer in terms of developing things, developing games that allow your child to develop in the home. Now, it's not just cardboard boxes. You have a lot more available to you, because if you have blankets, if you have pillows, you have a ton of games where you can do with your children on the floor. You can be wrapping your child in a blanket. You could be pulling them on a blanket. You could be squeezing them with your body. You could be squeezing them with the pillow. And then they need to kind of pull out, and they need to resist you, and they need to push you away, or they need to climb out from under the pillow. And that, once again, it builds the strength of the muscles. It builds the body map of the child, and they're having fun doing it. So, I mean, there's just endless. I'm just going to say one more thing, and I'll probably have to repeat this again, because I have a feeling the questions will kind of intertwine. But think about the kitchen. There are a ton of things in the kitchen that are actually safe. I'm a big fan of pots and pans, and this is totally old school, simple, outside of technology stuff. But this simplicity, this really, really, really works. You bring pots, you bring pans, and when it comes to fine motor skills, you get a child to take a wooden spoon and start drumming on the pot and the pan. Now, you have to be willing to be okay if the pot and pan is on the floor. You have to be okay if it gets messy or dirty, or maybe something will break off. So get your least favorite pot that your child can destroy and have fun with it, okay? Because I'm telling you, these are my favorite ways to explore and help children develop their fine and gross motor skills while having fun with the simplicity of what you already have at home.
Great. So there are so many things that can be done at the convenience of your own home. I'm sure you have given a lot of ideas to the people attending the session today. Thank you, Rita. The next question that we have is related to writing skills, and a lot of people are seeking your help here. If you could give them some suggestions to improve the handwriting or the writing skills of the children, and also how to improve the pencil grip of children. If you could suggest some activities or exercises.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's start with this. I have a couple of slides here. I'm going to skip them and I'll go back to them later, but let's go to the handwriting skills. Okay. Oh, there we go. So when it comes to handwriting, I just want to make sure that we all understand that challenges with handwriting is a symptom. Okay. It's a symptom of something else. This is not the root cause. Okay. And I really love to go to the root cause of what the challenge is, so we can create long lasting changes. So I just want to say there is a body of knowledge that I spoke to you about, which is called reflex integration. And in the next 3 workshops, I will in detail discuss ways, specific reflexes that will help your children develop their hand function from the bottom up. Okay. That is super important. Now, I don't have the time or the videos to do that right now. So that will be discussed in another workshop. But for today, I will give you plenty of tips to already start developing their handwriting skills, not necessarily right away working in handwriting. We're going to start somewhere else. So for example, we are very quick to put our children at a desk, and we're sitting at a desk. But if your child's muscles around their spine or the brain-body connection is not strong, it's very difficult to sit and to write, because you don't have that availability of your muscles, of your arms and your shoulder. You don't have the strength, you don't have the endurance, you don't have the coordination to sit at the desk and write. So I ask you to please allow your children to sit in a different position. For example, one of my favorite ones is to lie on the floor and to do coloring or writing or drawing on the floor on their belly. This is what children do naturally in the first year of life. They lay on their belly, which what happens is you allow the ability for the upper muscles, the neck around the muscles and the shoulder girdle and the upper body to actually be able to work against gravity as they're lying there, as they're lying on the floor. But they don't have to worry about the lower body. The lower body is just relaxing, okay? And that's really important because it's easier to do that. When you're sitting up straight, you have to worry about the upper and the lower, and you have to be able to coordinate both of those. And it's much more challenging if your muscles are not able to process the flow of gravity. So lay your children on the floor, super important, and lay down with them. Lay with them on the floor. Help them so that you are a great model how they can be on the floor and feel comfortable on the floor. When you're on the floor and you give your child a marker or a crayon, you automatically position their hand in the proper position, and the floor supports the hand and the palm and the wrist to already go in a specific perfect position like this in order to be able to draw a write. Okay, so when we're sitting, that's much more difficult. When we're laying on our bellies, this is much more natural, and there is natural support right here. So that's one position. Okay, so you see both of these children, one is on the floor, the other one is on the floor. Clearly, this child has less muscle strength, but he'll be able to develop it the more he lays on the floor. Now, the other position, which really helps the development of the fine motor muscles and the grip, is drawing on a vertical surface. So I encourage you, there's a couple things you can do. The simplest one is just get large pieces of paper and put them on your wall to protect your walls, and encourage your child to start drawing on the wall vertically. Because what happens? Once again, you're automatically putting your child's hand in the proper position for writing. So they don't have to fight with their muscles or with the gravity. They don't have to do anything. They're just raising their hand and it's already in proper position. Okay. And also they could be on their knees. They could be sitting in a crisscross. They could be sitting on a cushion. So you could support them. And that allows them to build the muscles around the spine and the neck, which is much easier to do that way than just sitting at a desk, because the desk doesn't move. The desk is static. So your child is stuck. They cannot get any movement in. So that's one thing in terms of positioning. The other thing is, I know you know this, but when you do this, just make sure you give your children a thick, nice, like I'm a big fan of thick markers, thick crayons. I'm a big fan of chalk. Chalk comes in very thick kind of cylinders like this. So yes, in the beginning, obviously, it would be important for your child to have something thick to grip. And I know this is something that everybody already knows, but do it in these positions. The other thing, which is really cool, is that in order for your child to have really good, this grip, okay, the opposing thumbs and the strength right here, the web muscles right here need to be strong. I love games. So what you can do is you start wrestling with your children, okay? So you ask them to make a circle and hold the circle, and then you put your finger inside and it's like, okay, come on, trap me. Don't let me come out. And what you're doing is you're asking your child to hold the circle, and you're going in there and you're like, oh, come on, I can't, I'm trapped. Oh, now I'm kind of, oh my God, your fingers open, yay. And you have fun with this, and you keep doing this, and you have fun. Make rings and make your children do this with your fingers. Make rings like this. Now, if your child does not have the strength to make these rings and to connect this way, just position your children and have them make a circle for them and hold the circle for them, and just go like this. One is holding with one hand, and the other one is just expand a little bit here. Expand a little bit. And if your child hands open, that's okay. That's no problem. But you go in and you gently say, okay, come on, hold. I'm going to open. Your job is to keep it closed. And even if your child has no idea what to do with his or her fingers, they have no strength at all, it doesn't matter, because you're helping them, you're modeling for them what to do, they're having fun. And if they're motivated, I guarantee you eventually they're going to start doing this, and eventually they're going to hold, and eventually the strength in the muscles is going to increase. It's just, you got to build it slowly, and you got to make sure you're having fun. Okay, it's really, really, really important. I also just wanted to mention, hold on one second. So you see these binders, and I know occupational therapists use this a lot. I just want to give this voice, because what works, works. And this is kind of, once again, old school, simple things. I know we have all our iPads, but I'm just really like, I just feel like it's really important. The position of the hand, it's really, really important. Why not make your child's life easy? If he's not or she are not ready and their muscles are not strong enough, give them that support. You figure out which, height is the best for your child. Obviously, there are all these different heights of the binder. So you put it, if they're sitting at a desk or if they're laying on their belly, give them the support. Put the piece of paper they're writing on, put it on this binder. And once again, you're going to support this kind of inclination of the wrist in extension. And it naturally gives way to this ability to hold a crayon and start writing and start drawing.
Interesting. Thanks a lot, Rita.
You're welcome.
These are very useful techniques, it seems, for all the people watching us live here. Okay, the next question that I have, if you could suggest some other activities and exercises, I'm sure you must have them. You have already suggested so many, but some activities and exercises that we can practice at home to build motor skills like dexterity, balance, and coordination. Yasmin and multiple others are asking this question.
Yes, absolutely. I understand. So besides my cardboard boxes, which is a great way to build coordination, a great way to build dexterity, the other one is, if you have a therapy ball, not everyone does, but if you do have a therapy ball, another fantastic, amazing, simple tool that really you could have a bunch of fun with, and you can really help your child to, you see, this is so beautiful. This child is actually leaning on his hands. So if we're talking about developing the muscles around the shoulder, developing the muscles in the hands and the whole hand and the muscles of the palms and the fingers, the most important part is weight bearing. You want to make sure that you are weight bearing on your hands. And with a ball, it's very easy to do this weight bearing. So you're building the muscles of the shoulder and the wrists, and you're also working and activating that balance system. Because whenever you are upside down, whenever your head is moving or is displaced, you're always activating the inner ear, which processes gravity. And that's very important, because if your inner ears are open, if you can process the gravitational pull easily, that directly communicates to the muscles. So the muscles are dependent on gravity. If you don't have enough muscle tone, that just means that there is not enough connection with gravity, and that there is not enough electricity coming in into the muscles, and the connection between the information between the brain and the muscles, that electricity that's coming in, it's not there. It's either there's not enough electricity, or there is too much, and it's creates spasticity, and the child becomes overwhelmed. But right now, when you look at this picture and the child is upside down almost, you're literally opening up all the pathways. You're allowing the child to have fun. You are building those muscles. You're building the spine muscles. Really, really simple, but really cool activity. You can also have a child sit on a ball, and you can just like hold them. If they're a little boy or a little girl, you can hold them by their feet, and then you just like start rocking them, and you start like playing with that, balance. What if you can knock them over and see, are they going to reach out their hand? Are they going to protect themselves? Are they going to catch themselves? Or are they going to fall over? Either one is fine. But really, you want to stimulate that balance system, which is so foundational to all the systems that we have, to be able to, we are going to fall, great fall, protect yourself, come back up. Okay. You can also, if it's a little boy and girl, you can have them actually, you put the ball in the corner, and you put your child on top of the ball, and you have them jump on top of the ball, hold them by their hands and have them jump. Awesome. It's really good for building body map. It's really good for building that vestibular system and balance system. And also they're holding on to you. Sometimes I make it really challenging, and then I'm asking, okay, I'm not holding your hands. You have to hold on to me. And then the child is trying to grab onto you, and they're pulling on you, and they're pulling on your clothing, and they're pulling on your hand. And what are they doing? They're activating their balance system, but they're also using their fingers and their palms and their hands to grab onto you, which is the beginning of all fine motor skills. That grasp, that is really, really important. Okay. So also, if you have this ball, and if the child is upside down, give him something. Give them a car, give them a toy, give them something to actually hold in their hand. Maybe they can throw something. Maybe they can pick something up. Maybe they can do a puzzle. I mean, you find what your child likes. Give them the toys that he or she likes, and have them do both the gross and the fine on this ball. Also, by the way, awesome, simple activity. You take the ball and you just come to your child and you run them over, and you're like, I'm going to squeeze you. And they get stuck under the ball, and then they have to push you away, and they have to use their hands, and they have to use their feet, and they have to push you away. They're having fun. They're building those muscles. Okay. So the ball, once again, I can never say enough about the ball. And one more thing I wanted to say is, so being on the belly, it's such a cute baby. Being on the belly is so important, because there's this really cool activity that I do. I take small little balls, and I have like 2 or 3, and I ask the child to lie on their belly, and I just roll balls back and forth. And if they catch it or not, it's irrelevant. They're just on their belly, and they're so excited to see these balls that are coming at them. So they have to pick up their head against gravity. They have to kind of move their shoulders, and you could play with distance. You can come close and roll the ball, and you could go far. And, in the beginning, they're just rolling, they're watching the ball. And then eventually they want to touch the ball. They want to grab the ball. They want to roll the ball back. And again, we have the gross motor skills. We have the fine motor skills combined together in a very simple way. Actually, let's see. I wanted to also mention one more thing. I know I'm saying a lot, but I just want to cover my bases here. Rolling is really, really important. Rolling gives you a really wonderful foundation for the development of reflexes. So if you can have fun with your child rolling on the floor, as you could see, I'm a big fan of the floor. So I'm hoping you can do this in your home and really like just move the furniture. I don't care how small your house is, move your furniture, okay? And get on the floor and play with your son or your daughter, and let them roll on the floor, because that really supports, once again, that muscles and joints and position of muscles and joints and feeling themselves with the support of the floor. Really, really important. And they can come to you, you give them a kiss, or you give them a tickle, or you squeeze them. Just make it fun, make it entertaining, but at the same time, make it very beneficial for their brain development. So that's what I would recommend to do at home.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rita. Although I'm running short of time, but the conversation is so engaging that I'm not able to call it off as of yet. So let me ask you 2 more questions. But since we have already, exceeded the time limit, I will just end the session with 2 more questions. The next one that I have is from Antara and Lim. Both of them are asking how to help children with low muscle tone, and especially how to improve the muscle tone and strength of the lower body. If you could suggest some activities.
Yes, beautiful. Wonderful question. So when it comes to building muscle tone, Okay. Besides reflexes, which is a fantastic way to do it. Another way to do it is rhythmic movement. Beautiful way to build muscle tone. Really, really works. Please, please don't underestimate the power of that. I already showed you that. And the other way is vibration. And how do you get vibration? Tapping. Tapping is really important. I tap a lot. So what I would do if you have a child who has a low muscle tone, what I would start with is start tapping on their soles of their feet. And tap a rhythm, do a rhythm, whatever rhythm feels to you, and start tapping all over the sole. Then start tapping on the lower legs. Start tapping, 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 tapping,
Rita?
tapping. Yes, my dear.
May I interrupt you for a little while? Some of the participants are requesting that while you're sharing your gestures, if you could stop sharing your screen so that they could see you on the bigger screen. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I apologize.
sorry.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
these little details. Yes, thank you. So what I wanted to show you is it's a wonderful way to bring that communication, that signal back to the muscles, is to actually start with vibration. And the way you do that is you can do tapping. So gentle tapping on the soles of the feet. Okay. Tap, 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 tap. You can do it in a rhythm. I prefer rhythm. You start tapping all over the lower legs and the hips. Tap, 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 tap everywhere. Just tap, 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 tap. I'm showing it on my arms, but you can do the same thing on the legs. So do a lot of tapping. Then take the child by the ankle and start gently rocking their feet. Just rock, 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 and shake them a little bit, but be careful because the hip sockets are gentle. And if there's low muscle tone, I want to make sure there is no dislocation of the hip. So just do everything very gently, but do a little jiggle, vibrate the whole entire leg so that you're waking up those muscles in a very beautiful, gentle way. Okay. So that's in terms of vibration. You can also sometimes, this is so silly, but kids love it. You just take their foot and you pick it up from the floor. They're like, typically they're laying down or sitting up, whatever it is, but you take their foot and you're like, boom, and you just drop it. All of a sudden you drop the foot on the floor. And then you take another foot and you're like, all right, here we go, boom, and you just drop it. So use that anticipation, have a lot of fun. And when you drop the foot on the floor, what happens is the foot drops, there's vibration, there's information coming into the muscles, into the bones, into the nerves, and you're waking up those, you're waking up the body by having a lot of fun. So vibration is a very powerful way to do it. Also, imagine for a moment if your child is lying on his back or her back and you squeeze them like a ball. You bring their feet in so the knees are into the chest and you start rocking them little by little. Rock, 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 rock. And then squeeze them a little bit so they're a little uncomfortable. And now they have to push and straighten out their feet and they have to push you away by straightening their hip and knee joints. That's a really good way to start building both feet and start building the hip muscles, start building the core muscles by straightening both of their legs against resistance, against you, against the ball, against the pillow, whatever it is. But those are very simple ways, but once again, very powerful ways to build the lower body and wake up the muscles.
Amazing.
Yeah,
very
amazing.
Interesting.
Since you're talking about the low muscle tone, I actually have been working with Rita on this beautiful 18 months old baby with dystonia. And this baby, we're told that she will use wheelchair for the rest of her life. And now as we are working with her, I'm working with her metabolic syndrome. I'm working with to grow her brain again. And I'm working with Rita on the exercises. And you know what happened after 3 weeks of working together with the girl is that she was able to flip over herself. And I think that is amazing. And I'm here to actually can testify that Rita does know what she's doing and she's amazing. So you are very, very blessed to have her here in Ability, and everyone who is listening. This is such an amazing things that you are listening today.
Totally.
Dr. Debbie, thank you. I just wanted to, I wanted to say one thing, that this baby is rolling now and most of the things we're doing is just a rocking. I wanted to just echo that we did a lot of rhythmical movement and now the baby's rolling by herself almost. So very powerful. Thank you, Dr. Debbie.
Very powerful. Yes. Very honored to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Debbie. Okay, so now we have come to the last question for today. How to develop interest in children for physical activities? If the children are not interested or hate any form of physical activity, how can we develop their fine motor and gross motor skills, and how to develop interest for the physical activities?
It's a fantastic question. And this relates to really, honoring the child and making sure that you're following, you're tuning into the child's motivation. The way I inspire children and inspire families to actually do this is because, as an occupational therapist, there are a lot of things that are cut and dry that sometimes are just really not fun. So you are yourself. You have to become fun. You have to be such a magnet that your child wants to spend time with you. So oftentimes I recommend, what is your child like? For example, I want to give you a very simple example how creativity, imagination, and commitment works. So you see this tissue box right here, right? Simple tissue box. So this was about half a year ago. I was working with a little girl. She was 7 years old. She was like, nah, we were already working together for 2 months. And like, she wants nothing to do with anything with the body whatsoever. Mom tried, I tried, nothing was working whatsoever. One time I was having a consult with her on Zoom, and I see the little girl in the back, and she's like picking tissues from the box, and she's like, the box, something with the box. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, box, tissue box. How would I get creative? But how do I connect it with the body? So as we know, the tissue box has a hole inside. When there are no tissues, it's an empty box. So I said to the mom, listen, we've been trying to do downward dog for 6 weeks. It's not working. She's not interested. What are we going to do? Take your boxes, empty them, and put her feet inside the box, put her hands inside the box, and see if she wants to slide in these boxes on the floor. It worked like magic. It was incredible. This girl would not stop doing this downward dog, and she like had very low muscle tone. It was so hard for her. She would just do this nonstop, and she always had to have her hands and feet in the box. And I'm telling you, it was magical because it completely opened her up to all the other things that we were offering. Because now this was a huge motivator. And now after she did the downward dog, and it wasn't even necessarily about downward dog. It's about just engaging her body in large movement. And she did not have enough muscle tone. She was already so feeling like, I can't do this. Why would I want to try? But I told her mother, please don't push, just have fun. She did this for 2-3 weeks. And I'm telling you, we were able to do things with her that I still cannot believe. We were able to completely do every single reflex, which takes so long sometimes. And it's like repetitive. She was totally fine because she knew that she's respected. So when we're talking about engaging your child, you have to start thinking from your child's perspective. You're the adult. You want to get things done. You want to see results. You want to structure your child. Forget all that. It's about having fun. It's about motivation and connection. That's where it all begins. Because here's what I want to say. Remember the chart that I showed you about the development of the child from the first year of life, and you know how they get from the floor to standing up. If your child is not curious about the world, that development will never happen. They need to be curious naturally, and children are naturally curious. Now we adults, very much, well-intentioned adults, we are pushing, we are running, we are goal-oriented. And what do? You absolutely hinder your child. You're taking away their curiosity. There's no more discovery. There's no more spontaneity. It's like you sit down and you draw a letter. It's A this way, it's B this way, and it's in sequence. It's so mind-boggling to me. Why are we teaching the alphabet in sequence? When we talk, are we talking A, B, C, D? Every single word has a mix of letters. We don't have to do it in sequence. It doesn't have to be so structured. Just have fun with it. And I'm telling you, things like, for example, children love to break things and children love to throw things. Talking about fine motor development, right? Throwing and breaking. You need a lot of strength to work your muscles of the fingers and the palm to break things and to throw things. So I'm a big proponent about, hey, get something in the house you have no problems breaking that obviously is safe. And just throw it or break it. Take a plastic box and just start throwing it. Let your child throw it and get up, pick it up and throw it. Put stuff inside, pretend, you know, that things are falling out, there's an earthquake, and start throwing it. Don't worry about things looking good. Don't worry about things being perfect. It's not about sitting at a desk. It's about exploration from the inside out. And when you allow yourself to be creative and have fun, your children will go with you anywhere you want to go, absolutely anywhere. You could sing. You can make a cartoon character noises. Find out what your children are watching on their iTunes, what they're watching on their YouTubes. I mean, there's so much going on. They're watching all these characters. Find the character they love, speak in that character voice, and invite them to do the activity. I mean, really, just step outside of the box, engage your creativity, engage your heart, and just be there without any expectation. Just connect. And I'm telling you, you will get a huge reward. Huge, huge. Anything is possible with that attitude.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Rita. That must be very useful for all the participants here. The chat box is filled with words of gratitude for you. And one of the particular comments that I would want to read out to you during the session is, one of them says that the speaker is so selfless in sharing her knowledge and experience that we are really, really grateful to you. So that would be something that I agree with as well, and which is why I would want to mention it here. Thank you so much for the amazing session, the amazing sharing that you did today. A lot of people learned a lot from this session today. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Dr. Debbie, for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and input as well. It would have helped a lot of people, I'm pretty sure. And with that, we reach to the end of the session. Dear participants, I would like to remind you that please do fill the feedback form that is being shared in the chat box right now. Your words of appreciation mean a lot to us. Please do share them via the feedback form, and also we'll welcome any kind of suggestions that you have for us to improve the experience further for you all. Also, we have our next webinar scheduled on 15th of May, which will be on the topic related to phonics. So do register for the upcoming session from Ability. And if you wish to attend future workshops conducted by Rita Gendelman, the link is also being shared in the chat box. You can stay posted by visiting the events page of Ability and register for the workshops from Rita. Thank you so much, Rita, for joining us. Your last few concluding words about today's session.
Oh, I feel so alive, and I feel so passionate about waking up the inner child. All of us have that, and I believe our children just want to play and they want to connect, and let's just not forget the innocence of the child and look at life from their perspective. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Totally. Let's not forget the inner child. What a wonderful message. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Debbie, for joining us. That brings us to the end of today's session.